Hello, everyone. We're live.
Hi.
My name's Nina Ashby, and I'm here today to present Paul Harrison, who is a colleague of mine, a friend, and a very, very good author. I'm here because I read his book, and I really want to promote it because I feel it has tremendous value. So, Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Nina. Nice to be here.
It's great to be here. And so, Paul's book is called Mistfall of Dreams. And what we're going to be doing is just having a little discussion about it. And I want to give a shout out to everybody who's joined us on our broadcast today. And also to those who will be watching at a later time. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope that you also interact with us. And if you'd like to put in the comment box below where you're watching from, we'd be very interested. We're in London at the moment, and if you're from someplace else in the world, we'd like to know. Please feel free also to write your comments about anything and any questions that you have for Paul. He will get back to you on them. Also, I want to share some exciting news. If you like and share in the box below this video and write in the box the word book with your name, we will put you in a draw and you'll have a chance to win a copy of the book signed by the author and sent to you. And the draw is going to take place on March 15th. So Paul will contact you if you're the lucky winner of that. So let's get on with it, Paul.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, I want to show this. Mistfall in the Grove of Dreams. That's the beautiful cover of the book, and you'll be able to recognize it. And because it's so big, you can't miss it. That's not the book itself, but a print. We thought it would be easier for you to see. So, Paul, what inspired you to write this story?
Well, I've been involved with the what's loosely called the mysteries, the Western mysteries, for well over 30 years. These really are teachings which answer the great questions of life. You know, why are we here? What's it all about? Why do we have crazy leaders? And all these weird things which happen in the world.
Right.
And I've always liked writing, and this was about my 10th attempt at a book, and it just flowed, this one. And
so what do you mean by that, it just flowed?
Well, we asked this question, where does inspiration come from? It was a very strange writing experience. I sat down to write it, and it just blasted through me. And when I was away from the computer, I couldn't think what was going to happen next. So I was panicking a bit about it. As soon as I sat down, it started to flow again.
So a channeled book. So
we get this idea of a channeled thing where something we're contacting wants something to come into the world.
Right.
And that's the only explanation I have for how easily it flowed.
Well, I suppose it's also somewhat, we draw on what we know. And you having been a student of esoteric philosophy and things like tarot, Kabbalah, astrology, you're qualified in all of these areas.
Yeah.
These are things that you have used in your life personally, and that you use to advise other people. But there is a whole esoteric tradition of writing stories that are instructive tales, aren't they?
Sure, and certainly one inspiration as to how I would word this book was fairy tales. I mean, these are interesting for two people, young children, because they teach them certain moral tales, but also they're things you can come back to much later in life because they actually teach very profound lessons through symbols. So in a sense, it's a kind of grown-up fairy tale, if you like.
So would you say that it could be read by a child? And I mean, would you recommend that it could be read maybe by a teenager rather than a young child, and as well as adults.
I think it could be, actually, because it's a very simple story. I know my 12-year-old nephew, sorry, he's 13 next week. He's 12 today. He's keen on reading it. I've told him a little bit about it. And yeah, he certainly wants to read it. So I think it could be read by people of almost any age.
Well, what's interesting about it, it's very much a rite of passage tale, too.
Yeah.
And so it might be very applicable to a boy or a girl going through that stage in their life, too. They wouldn't be able to see it in the way that an adult would, or particularly an adult who might have had some previous esoteric teaching. But it's a ripping tale. It's really, I couldn't put it down, basically. Right, yeah. So anyway, so what's the basic kind of plot? We don't want to give it away too much, but what's the basic story here?
Well, very simply, it's set in about 1,000 years ago, the mid-11th century in the north of England, and it's about a young boy who lives in the village, has a very hard life. He works at the mill, and then he has some strange experiences, and he very shortly finds somebody who can teach him what these experiences mean.
Cool.
He does have a lot of experiences, and not all of these would happen to everybody, certainly in such a short space of time, but they are based on real things which happen to real people to this day.
Cool. Because people are people.
People are people.
People are people, but you chose that time, and perhaps in a time where things were more simple, more that people didn't go out of their villages in the way that we travel and see the world. There was less awareness of that. So obviously there was a lot of symbolism, perhaps you could say, about people going out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, it took a while actually to choose the main character. I hadn't initially chosen a child, but I wanted somebody who was open to things, who was ready to experience new things, and above all, I wanted a really good person. And one of the reasons I set it in the 11th century was really to show that these teachings, they're always the same, essentially, all over the world. It's just how they're taught is different. And it made sense to set it in a time, as you say, when life was simpler, fewer complications. And so these things which happen just seemed almost every day to him. But the meaning really still stays the same to this day.
And the power struggles and the internal struggles that people go through within the course of their lives are the same.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you know that from your counselling work. People come with the same small number of problems all the time. And as you mentioned, symbolism, it is full of symbolism. And
you want to take us through a little bit of, just because we don't want to give it away. We want you to be reading this book, but some of the classic symbolism that is used to go through, for example, the unconscious mind and the path of growth, for example.
The village, as villages nearly all were at that time, is on the edge of a forest. And of course, he ends up going into the forest, as they do in all the fairy tales. And that's about shifting consciousness, really, at the level of consciousness. You're going to a different place. I mean, we still talk to this day of being lost in the woods when things are a bit confusing. We can't see where we're going.
Can't see the wood for the trees.
Can't see the wood for the trees, yeah.
We can pop out the metaphors now.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was thinking about this on my journey here this morning. These old sayings, these old wise tales, a lot of them and stories, they're still going after 1, 2, 3,000 years. We still have these things in our language.
Yes.
And yeah, the whole book really is crammed full of symbolism.
I mean, after having read it, I really thought a lot about there's some kind of pattern he's following here.
There is. Yeah. Well spotted. Yeah.
And do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because, you know, as I said, it's just to give you like a taste of that this is something that's entertaining and yet very profound.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people will be familiar with the likes of Joseph Campbell, who was one of the greatest writers on myth. And he discovered that the mythic pattern, the myth story, is pretty much the same all over the world.
So you're following an archetypal sort of pattern.
Yeah.
And is that reflected in, for example, tarot?
Absolutely,
or the Journey of the Fool, that kind of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. It's the same story in the tarot cards, which is one reason they were made, was to remind people of this story and let them see. Incidentally, one of the nearest things we have to a modern myth is the Star Wars movies from the 70s.
Yeah.
And I believe that George Lucas met Joseph Campbell, who talked to him about the myth pattern. And it's very, very similar. And there are other movies which follow the same pattern. So people who've read this, they often talk about a sense of, which I think when we're in a story, which is the standard myth pattern, it does have a sense of familiarity. You know, certainly each stage, people can say, well, okay, I didn't live in a forest in the 11th century, but this kind of thing happened to me, you know, and it's the same pattern is repeated. Yeah.
I love the title, Mistfall in the Grove of Dreams. It's very evocative. But there's not a lot of mist in the book. What's that all about?
There isn't, but I'm sitting next to somebody who sees auras, the energy pattern around people. And of course, 1,000 years ago, they wouldn't know the word aura. They wouldn't know what this was, these colored, shiny, sparkly lights around people. So
trees.
Or trees, or stones.
Or stones, or
everywhere.
Or every living that exists in the world.
Indeed, yeah.
Animate and inanimate.
So what would they call it? This kind of not quite physical, hazy thing? Well, the nearest word they would have would be mist. So that's the mist is their word for energy, really.
Cool. And yeah, it's an absolutely fascinating book. And you know, when I finished it, I thought, oh God, is there going to be more? Please, because there's a little interesting twist to it, which I'm definitely not going to tell you about, because it certainly won't spoil. Well, it'll spoil the fun of the book, the interest of the book, because it's multidimensional. That's all I'm going to say.
Well,
and so will there be more?
All I'm going to say is that I've been at home a lot this week, and I'm almost a quarter of the way into book 2.
Ooh,
so there will be
sequel.
More at some point.
I predict 3.
3 is a good number.
3 is a very good number. Yeah. So the Mistfall trilogy, that's what we're going to call it.
I feel tired already.
No, you feel very excited.
I am really excited, actually. I'm already getting good reviews, which makes me really happy that people are enjoying it. And friends who've written to me who've read it, they've really, really enjoyed it, which makes me very, very happy.
That's great. So if you would like to enjoy this book, you have a chance to win a free copy signed by the author. So in the text box below, write book. Make sure you like and share this video and this page. Buy the book. If you don't happen to win it, or you feel so excited you can't wait. But if you want to have a chance to win, the draw is going to be on the 15th of March. We'll put all the information down in the text. Like and share the video, write the word book and your first name, which will of course be next to your name on your Facebook page. And Paul will be in touch with you and you could get lucky. If you don't win, go to Amazon. The book is available in Kindle and softcover edition. If you want Paul to sign it for you, well, watch this space. He may be doing some book signings someplace in London.
Yeah.
And we'll keep you informed of those events.
Definitely.
And if you've read the book and enjoyed it, please go to the Amazon book page and write a review for him. He'd really appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.
And thank you all for watching.
Indeed.
A lot of great names. Are lovely to have you join us today.
Yes, we thank you, everyone. So have a great day and hope you enjoy the book.
Thank you.
Bye from us.